So guys, how's it going? Looks like it might be just the three of us for the time being. So feel free if you want to unmute yourself and we can have a conversation if that works better today. More than happy to sort of converse that way.
Okay.
Awesome. So tonight, really, what I thought we could do, I'm happy to sort of work around whatever works for you guys. I'm happy to have a look at week 2 and talk a little bit about data. Or if you want to jump straight into the assessment items and have a chat about that as well, I'm more than happy to sort of move wherever you guys see the need. These sessions aren't sort of necessarily organised as such or structured, so it's really about getting you guys to sort of tell me what you need and then we go from there.
Okay.
Or otherwise, I just talk and fill the void for the time being. So,
Okay.
So how'd you go? I know, Alexandra, you've been a little bit unwell this week, so you haven't had much of a chance to look at week 2. Sharon, have you had much of a chance to have a bit of a dig through?
Yeah, I've attempted to complete the task.
Yes.
I think I've completed it.
Yeah.
And typed it up.
Excellent. Because
I just had a few questions.
Yeah, no, please, yeah.
One of my questions was, how do I know if I've collected the right sort of data? I know you have the example there. Is that all we have to do?
Yeah, look.
Are we expected to expand on that?
No, look, it's kind of really, I suppose how I see the assessment is really showing evidence of that you've gone through the process, you've thought about the process, that the actual task itself of building the sale car and building the data is probably only a small component of the overall, you understand how technology is fitted into the STEM process and that STEM understanding. So yeah, it's
I don't have to get too hung up on it.
No, look, it's probably more the understanding than anything else. So
I managed to refamiliarise myself with Excel, which I briefly learnt in the 90s and have hardly used since.
Yeah, look, and Excel, the funny thing with Excel is there's so much to Excel, you can actually get lost in it. And majority of the stuff that we do as teachers is really a small part of that. So you really sort of learn what you need to know. And outside of that, you can
as you do it, as you use it. That's right. Yeah. Well, I managed to put in. We made 2 prototypes because I made one based on the video clip.
Yes.
Similar to that, and then my son decided to make one with a few Lego parts because he's.
Oh yes.
The Lego master. And we were working together, and so we tested both of those 3 times. The first time was on a rough surface. Then we made adjustments, did it a second time on the same surface, and then we decided to try a smooth surface. So there were 3 tests for each vehicle.
Yep.
And we collected the distance, the time, calculated the speed, did an average, did a minimum and a maximum for a few of the columns.
Awesome. Yeah, because really what you're doing. Yeah, definitely, because what you're doing there, you're showing you've got your mass in there, you've got your physics and, the coefficient of those sort of things. So really you're showing evidence that even though you think it's just a wind-powered sail car, you're actually you're ticking all the boxes as far as all the things we've been looking at, like last week, as far as the Who workflow, but also the pulley system. If you look at the pulley,
integrating. Yeah. So I mentioned that briefly in my report because I'm finding it very hard to stick to that word limit.
Oh yeah, look,
I'm trying to split it 750 for the first task and 750 for the other task to meet the word limit.
Yeah,
I could waffle.
Look, and it's always the case as well. I know I'm doing another subject, and it's the same argument. There's always.
I haven't left anything important out.
Keep into that area. How you going, Morgan? Welcome.
Good, thank you.
We're just talking about assessment. Sorry, not even. Well, I suppose it is assessment too because it is talking about week 2, and the wind-powered sail car.
Yep, I had difficult with that.
You had some fun, yeah. Well, and I was just saying that to Sharon that it's very much. Even though we're getting you to focus on the data, and it's really kind of getting you to see how data is important as part of how it can lead your STEM projects or your STEAM projects. But again, don't get too hung up on all the spreadsheets. You sort of just prototype.
Oh no, I found the spreadsheets are easy. That's the easy part.
Oh, that was the easy part. Yeah.
Okay.
I couldn't get my prototype to work. I had to make like 4. It took me like 2 days to get it to work.
Oh, nice.
Spreadsheet was done in like 5 seconds.
That was easy, but
I know how to do. I come from a family full of accountants.
oh yeah, no.
Excel is just. We've always known how to do Excel, and I use it for my mark book for school, and I have all the formulas and that. So that's the easy side. It was I couldn't get the wheels to turn properly.
Yeah.
I had a really, it's like not one of the normal fans, like one of those more industrial ones. So it was kind of almost too powerful. It was just pushing it too hard, and it would topple over.
Well, yeah.
And the wheels weren't working.
That happened a bit too.
Yeah, sure.
Eventually, I got 5 decent runs, but it took me about 20 testing times. But yeah, the spreadsheets were easy.
Oh, good. Yeah, well, look, feel free for your assessment. You can document the fact that you did it 4 times and you did different prototypes, because that's all part of that learning process as well.
I gave up finding materials. I had to then go to Woolworths and get some extra materials because I'd destroyed all what I'd used. And I couldn't, because I think the problem was I didn't have much to do with the wheels because I couldn't find any like bottle lids and stuff because I don't normally like. I don't drink like milk and all that, all the things that you normally get the lids from. And where I live, they don't have recycle bins because there's one of those unit complex. So they just decided.
Oh yeah, I read your Padlet. That you said that. I think.
So I couldn't even go raid the recycle bins of where I live because everyone. And I'm just like. Eventually, I realized I had some medicine bottles, and I kind of took the lids off them and was like, yeah,
that'll do the job.
Yeah, and then the Lego box.
Yeah, Lego works really well. Yeah,
I have a lot of Lego, but none of my Lego has wheels.
Yeah, you need the technique.
I saw Lego that, technique. And but I even have technique at school. We've got all the EV3 robots, but the wheels were
no wheels.
They were like giant wheels, like this big, and they're too heavy to move without the actual motors.
Well, as long as like hopefully that data. And really week 2 was really about focused on data can actually lead a lot of projects, your STEM projects and those sort of things. And really, we just use the wind-powered sail car, sorry, I can't even speak. It was kind of a simple project that we knew most people would be able to find those resources. But really it's kind of getting you to think, okay, I can use data to drive, where we go. So like today I was actually talking to, I'm still at school right now, I haven't had a chance to get home. One of my year 2 teachers, and we're having a bit of a chat about what she's doing in her science class. And she is just, doing the old growing the beans. And she basically said, we're measuring it. We're doing things like we're looking at the growth, we're sketching it. And she realized that it was all STEM, that she had covered. So even though for her it was like a simple science project, she then realized, I'm doing the maths, I'm doing the science, I'm doing, the design, the cup that they chose. The kids choose different cups so they get more light in, and those sort of things, the paper tissue or the cotton wool buds. So just getting her to see that, I'm using STEM. And then she actually said, we've been recording it. We found the iPads, we're one-to-one iPad school here, that by recording it, I'm actually getting a lot of detail. The students in year 2 are getting a lot more information than we had previously where we just drew it. So I was really highlighting to her, even though it was for her it was like a simple science project, it actually brings in a whole lot more of that STEM ideas, that STEM process and the STEM thinking. And so that was, even though like tonight, I suppose we're talking about the wind-powered sail car, a lot of things you probably are doing, especially if you're primary school teachers, potentially have that STEM function. You're doing it, but by introducing like video and those sort of things, you're actually adding all these other layers where you can really improve what you're doing.
Yep.
Yeah, the school I'm at is an iPad school, so that's what I decided to focus on as my technology because it's what I have to use.
Oh, perfect. Yeah.
And my son uses it. He's in grade 7, so he's gone from using them in primary school to now using them in high school. So he's handy because he knows more about how to use them than I do.
Oh, yeah, no, please, use your kids.
But I've mastered Keynote.
Oh, good. Yeah,
I embedded a PDF of my Keynote into my report. Is that okay?
Into your assessment one?
Yeah. So it doesn't add to the word count because it's embedded as a file.
Yeah. Because you upload, I probably won't be able to open that.
Okay.
You could.
I was going to say screenshot.
Yeah.
I took a screenshot of my Excel spreadsheet and just put it in under the digital portfolio prompt.
Yeah, that's fine.
Let me open that one. But it let me embed a PDF file.
Oh, so you can still view it?
You should be able to.
That should be fine. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, no.
It's not the actual Yeah, it's a PDF version. I exported the keynote to PDF and then transferred it from the iPad to my computer and
Yeah, that should be fine. Because
in there.
a PDF is kind of like an image file anyway. So
Yeah.
as long as when you...
So I won't play any of the video. But
yeah, as long as, like, when you look at it, it actually looks like an image. Yeah, that should be fine. No problems at all. Yeah.
Yeah, it won't do the movement to look pretty.
No.
Yeah.
And for me, you know, I have that understanding. It's kind of, I'll be able to fill in the blanks, go, oh, okay, I can see, yep, this is the video, but because it's PDF, because Turnitin doesn't do that sort of functionality, that's fine. No problems at all.
Yeah, it has the photos, it has the data thing in it, and it has the conclusions we drew.
Perfect. Yeah. No, that's what we're after. And it's really, that's just, I suppose, a mechanism to get you thinking about all the things we sort of talked about last week about the WHO workflow and those areas. So I'm just digging back my resources. So, you know, answering those reporting, reasoning, relating and reconstructing, and, you know, feel free to...
I structured my task one.
And feel free to, you know, there's basically those 8 prompts. You can put it down as, you know, the first heading, reporting, 1, describe the STEM learning experience. Just, you know, write it in there, paragraph, 2 paragraphs, whatever you need.
I put it as dot points. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, as long as they're in
the words.
Yeah. As long as they're in dot points, like in sentences though, if not just word, but if you put them in dot point within sentences, sort of that.
But it's as efficiently worded as I can.
Yeah, good. Yeah, it's always a challenge to get into that word count.
I'm a bit of a writer, so my sentences tend to go on and they tend to get a bit. So I've had to. Natural.
No, look, every unit I've ever taught at uni, it's very much about, you know, they want this concise. You've got to cut it right back. So any tricks you can do that works for you, definitely go for it. The other thing I was going to mention too, I've got a friend down the coast who's a teacher down there, and I suppose this sort of ties back to our data for this week. He's used data, so he looked at, I was just looking at his paperwork here that he sent me through. With his year 6 students, he looked at, they had a retirement village nearby, and the students would go to this retirement village and do sort of community work. But from that, they realised that a number of elderly had problems gripping and holding cutlery. So he then did some research and found out it was 21% of the elderly experienced difficulty gripping or holding cutlery. 11% have incomplete use of their fingers. So what he basically did was present this to his year 6 students, and his STEM project was then based on students designing and creating knives and forks for these elderly people in this retirement village to actually be able to use effectively. And it's amazing what these year 6, year 7 students had come up with as far as like these counterbalancing of the spoons and forks. But it was really much led by, not only was it what they'd seen, but the data. So he had used the data that was out there to say, this is a big problem. Data is actually saying, look, this is a problem across Australia, across the world. As students, what can we do? How can we make a difference in the world? So there's some very interesting things there. He had access to 3D printers and those sort of things as well. So these students created these amazing forks and knives that had these counterbalancing options. So every time your hand was shaking, it would actually keep the spoon still. So there's ways that you can use data to drive your information as far as this is why we need to do it. Your wind-powered sail car was probably the opposite, where we were using the data to inform changes and modification and those things as well. Cool. And I noticed a few people had put in some information within the in the acquisition stage, where we had the little 3-table graph, kinds of data in STEM projects, qualitative, quantitative, numerical, categorical, those sort of things. So that's excellent. Data tools for STEM projects, yep, excellent. Excel spreadsheets, graphs, maps, Google Classroom, surveys, tables, tallies, diagrams. I'm finding more and more, even within just education and generally, there's a real push for data and being able to read data and actually visualize data. And I've done a lot of IT or digital technology conferences where you go along, and previously it was always about learning management systems or LMSs. The last couple of years, it's always been about data and data analysis and data visualization. So not only is it powerful in STEM projects, but also just generally in teaching, data is becoming something that's really important to be able to visualize and make sense of. And really data should be used to drive what we teach, not sort of something that we have at the end. It should be part of that whole process. And the importance of visualizing data, yeah, exactly. So to communicate in a meaningful way, to highlight or make a point conclusion, to share findings with others, to read and research. So yeah, good. Yeah, it's perfect, because it really is. It's about making people be able to understand what the data is saying in a quick and easy way. So most teachers, except for you, Morgan, who know Excel spreadsheets, most teachers don't like spreadsheets. I like them because I kind of think it's a bit like coding, as far as you're always looking for the prettiest or quickest or nicest formula to solve the problem. And there's always 5 or 6 different ways. Yeah. So when people come to me and say, oh, I've got to create a spreadsheet for this, I'm kind of like, oh, well, let me have it. Let me go at it. Most teachers aren't like that. So to be able to present data to them in an easy visual way is really powerful. And that's the same with your STEM projects as well. For students to see data in a meaningful way, in an easy way for them to understand, is going to get them to, yep, I understand. Okay, 21%, that's something that I can visualize. Maybe my teaching mate, somehow pictorial, make that a visual thing that students go, okay, I can see that's a real issue. I've seen it in the nursing home projects that we've been doing. I need to make a difference about that as well.
Yeah, well, I do the same with the whole visualization of the data, is the conditional formatting. So the colors.
Yeah. Yep,
so 3-cut scale things, and so it makes it easy to, when we do like the staff meetings and stuff, and they're like, show us your data of your children. I'm like, spreadsheet.
Yep.
Green is they're like 86 to 100%. And then it goes lighter green down to yellow in the middle, orange, and then red is they're well below. And every single subject, every single spreadsheet, there's about 12 spreadsheets for all my subjects and everything I do throughout the year. And every single one of them is formatted with color. So you don't even have to read the number. You can just look for the color and work out how overall they're doing.
That's it. And even just that, adding that color, the conditional formatting, it's not hard to do.
No.
But it has so much more power as far as understanding what's going on there as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm primary school trained, so I love colour. So I'm always using conditional formatting. Yeah. So everything I do is always coloured so that people go, oh, okay, I see what's going on. Or, red, stoplight sort of colours, this number 1, or, a red is, they need more work on. Greens, they've got it, sort of thing. So, but again, you can use that sort of information in your STEM projects as well. So you have a good understanding of spreadsheets. Introduce some of that for the students' understanding is really powerful as well.
Well, it's shared data that drives invention, isn't it? Like scientists, inventors, engineers, they have to share the data, and, it could be like Einstein's data that they work on and improve. If they don't have the data, they can't improve on it.
Yeah. And really we as teachers, and we as teachers should be using that data as well to inform our teaching in many ways. In the past, I remember when I've taught in the past, you'd kind of do all your reporting towards the end so that you'd have your report card. And really, in many ways, you need to be doing that continual data to drive, how you're teaching your students, where you're going next. And data, I think there's that change in how we see data and how we interact with data as well. Alexandra, sorry, I did see your message here about the screen doesn't always refresh. So in this table here, that we haven't been able to work out how quickly Blackboard refreshes this screen, but I do have access to that on the Google Doc itself. So the Google Doc is instantaneous within the spreadsheet, within Blackboard. There's no rhyme or reason as far as how quickly it updates. So don't be alarmed if you're not seeing.
Yeah, I thought it wasn't working, and then it went, a little while later. I went, oh, no, there it is.
We actually looked at a bit of the coding behind it and going, oh, what's going on here? Because this is basically reading directly from an embedded Google Doc. But the Google Doc, which is, it just takes some time to push through, but we don't actually know how long it takes to push through. Hello, Christine, welcome.
Hi, Christine.
So look, I'll scroll down a little bit now. The identify the roles of digital technology. So in this example tonight, or this week, the Who workflow, we actually broke that down a little bit for you. So this is kind of something that you could do for your assessment as far as the second part of breaking down the who. You know, this is what the who, why, and outcomes look like. So if you have a look at that, or if you haven't had a chance, it kind of does break down the who flow, the workflow, sorry. Christine, no worries. No, understand if you're late. Feel free, we've got the mics turned off if you want to chat that way. We're happy for that, or you can mute whatever you like. I'm at my school computer today, so I've got two monitors here, so I can sort of keep a better eye on what's going on. So yeah, identify the roles of digital technology. So that breaks down, we talked about a little bit about the who workflow. Hopefully this will now break it down a bit as far as this is how it works within this STEM project. And again, we kind of have a link. If you haven't done anything with Excel before, because you are QU2 students, you do have access to lynda.com, which has an extensive information about how to do Excel and create spreadsheets and things like that. So if you haven't used spreadsheets before, or you're a little rusty, really good videos that lynda.com have created that you can jump on and have a look. So we've given you some quick links there. But if you know Excel spreadsheets, you don't need to, we've coloured in blue so you can sort of see, oh yeah, I've done that before. I don't need to know, sort of help you along the way. So then we got you to create your wind-powered sail car. Thank you for everyone that had been creating and putting up on the Padlet. I've had a look at a couple of those photos. Some very interesting looking wind-powered cars. Sorry, just reading Christine's. The who workflow is challenging to change what you have for your own assignment. Also, the AT I'm finding very challenging. Yeah, so we've had a few people ask about the activity theory, this one. So again, we will, if you want, I can sort of break that down a little bit further again. It really is kind of the activity theory is I suppose for me, it's breaking down all the components that make up your teaching process. So you're thinking about, for this project, your outcome, can you see that? I'll sort of, I know it's a little bit, sorry, I'll turn it on this light. Getting dark in here, hopefully that's a bit better. Everyone can see that okay? Yep. Yeah, look, is it possible to get an exemplar? But not our project. Yeah, look, what I might do, I will send you one that I've blacked out a few things so you can sort of get an idea. So it doesn't give you all of them, but it might give you an idea. So I might actually give that available. Can you see now? Let me see what I can find out. If you just give me a second, I have it in my Finder. I might just throw it across. Sorry guys, won't be a second. Yes, because I had a question come through the other day about how does that look and what does it look like. So really what you're doing is breaking down the components that. So here's one that sort of shows you. Now, can you see that on your screen? Is that showing up, or I need to, I might change screens.
Not yet, no.
Okay, yep, no problems. Let me just modify this. Won't be a second. I'll change my share view. Okay. This one. So again, this is kind of a breakdown of one. So hopefully you can see that now.
Yes.
Okay, so I've blacked out some of them, yep. But basically what it's doing is trying to break down. So really it's highlighting the fact that these are all the things that are taking place in your classroom space. So things of division of labour. So, you know, who's doing what? What's the teacher doing? What's the students to be paired with one group or three? So the division of labour, so you've got your student side, which is you might have groups of three. How's that's broken up? Your division of labour on the left-hand side, are you bringing in yourself? You might have science teachers, you know, those sort of things. You're bringing in other those areas as well. So you're kind of trying to break down all the components that's happening in that classroom space. So have a look at that. And that, look, this video, what I did last week was at the end of the session. It takes probably about an hour to render the video out. I'll actually put this at the bottom of week 2. So, sorry, so it is not a wide view. No, look, Yeah, it can be quite narrow. So it can be just, okay, this is in that STEM project. So if we are looking at the push cart, you know, what is your outcome? What do you want your students to take away? That's in the middle. So all these other things, what's sort of taking place? So your tools, you know, your laptops, your camera, your household items. So all the things you used are your tools. The objects, engage students in hands-on learning, experience that's creative, challenges that may occur. So these are, it's kind of really just getting you to break down all the components of what's going on in the classroom. And really this activity theory is then, there's a lot of things that as teachers we don't always think about that have an influence on our students' learning and our outcomes as well. So the fact that what happens at my community at this school may be completely different at your school, or my dynamics of my students, and just having that understanding that these things all make a big impact on the overall teaching. Text boxes on the template we're not given. Oh, look, this is just an annotated over the top. So on the blank one that you have, like this, feel free, if you don't want to use text box like that, you can just write over the top of this, you know, just in pencil or pen, and then photocopy that and load that up as an image, take a photo of that. That's fine. You can definitely, can you edit in Adobe DC? Yep, yeah. If you have Adobe, definitely, no problems at all. You can do it on iPad if you have things like PDF Expert. You can edit those sort of things as well. So it's kind of just showing, it's getting you to show me, you know, what you thought about, what are the things that are going on. So that's just one example. Yep, scan, perfect.
With this, how you've got the like the subject, the class, and the community about like the class size of students. Could we just, for example, like this is something very similar to I did about 2 or 3 years ago in year 2. Could I just kind of use that as the example, like going, okay, well I used this with year 2. There was like 22 kids in the class, like, or like just kind of putting that of my own details, because really we did it on our own.
Definitely. Yeah. You can basically say that. So even though you did it at home by yourself, you can then say, well, this is what something this, let's say I'm going to work in my year 2 class. So in my year 2 class, I've got 22 kids. So then you are writing this, your activity theory is based on the year 2 class. Yeah. And in some ways it probably makes more sense to actually choose a class than actually, you know, what you did at home. So you're basically, you know, superimposing what you did at home into a class, and then you think about all these things. So perfect, yeah. Yep.
Okay, great.
Cool. Does that sort of make a little bit more sense now, guys?
Makes a lot more sense.
Yeah, cool. Now, I'm not saying this is a good example or a bad example, but I'm just showing you that this is kind of what we're after. So even though I'm not going to say it's an exemplar, but I'm just saying this is kind of what we're after. So hopefully you can sort of read between the lines as far as, okay, this is what an object is, this is what a subject area is, and those sort of things. So in this case, the community is a technology teacher. You might say year 3 teacher, myself, or, you know, up to you. I think so. It's good to see how it can be used previously. Yeah, look, and I think it can sort of get buried in, it could be quite complicated, but reality is it's kind of you just breaking down all the components that are going on in your class for that area. And really then, you know, how is technology improving, enhancing that? You might see there's issues with certain things, and potentially technology will support, or if not improve, those issues through that as well. Cool. So I might jump back to this page. So yeah, thank you for those that have added into week 2. So I've seen a couple of your vehicles and your explanations there. So yep, I saw this one here. Yes, finding some good examples. So thank you. Yeah, so this is just a space where we can share what you've been doing. And look, it's great if you're happy to sign off. You know, cheers, Sharon. Thank you. It just helps me to know who's sort of being involved with it as well. And I understand sometimes you don't always get a chance to do it all, but especially for this one, you know, any video or any footage that you've got, please add that into your assignment one as evidence. So photos are fine, even though, you know, videos you won't be able to upload, but any screenshots or anything like that is going to help with your overall assessment as well, if that's possible.
So was that enough, what I put in there?
Oh, yeah. Look, and again, for this part, the Padlet is really just kind of almost like a check-in to make sure everyone's on the same task and everyone sort of understands it. And it just means that all the people in our course can have a bit of a look to see, you've done it this way, where the next person's done it in a completely different style and method. And we're all sort of, this is my third attempt, this is my fourth attempt. So we're sort of all traveling together. So it's kind of more of a collaborative space to sort of share what we've been going through as a group, I suppose, that you don't have to feel bad that it took you 4 times to actually get it to work, because there's probably 2 or 3 in that same boat. I had a look at the students from last year that was in the same course, pretty much the same sort of thing. The wheels were a real issue for a lot of people to actually get them to work, and what do you use for wheels? So it's interesting as your tutor to actually look back over previous work and see those connections as well. But yeah, it's kind of a space. You're not necessarily being marked on this Padlet area, but it's kind of there for each other to support each other. I think it's good to see. Cool. Okay. I'll keep going. The only part, the last part is that reflection. Use the following prompts to reflect on your experience. So these you'll probably find are tied into your assessment one. Please check, because if you have a look last week, or even some of these don't always match. I noticed in week 1, the reflection questions don't actually match the same that are on the assignment. So make sure you jump onto your assignment and look down the page here. So that's the one that we'll be working on. So just check that, because I know from feedback from last week, I noticed 1 or 2 were slightly different than what it is. So yeah, so please refer back to the assessment one, and also your rubric as well. So that's how I'll be marking your work. And just a couple other things with this assignment. This one's worth 60%. And then the second one is worth 40%. And the second one is all video. So just keep that in mind. So this one is a PDF, a Word document turned into PDF, with as many photos and those sort of things to sort of make it easy to understand. Photos tell 1,000 words, so the word limit is quite tight. So if you can do something with photos, like I think Sharon, you sort of suggested, that's going to work in your favour. Whereas assessment 2 is a 5 to 7 minute video. The video itself, you're looking at probably 2 minutes max of maybe footage of a STEM class or the STEM project being undertaken. The rest of the time is you sort of explaining again your understanding. And assessment 2, you'll see, again, we've got, so I'm just, hopefully you can see that. I know it's a little bit dark. Assessment 2 on the second page, these are the criteria that we're asking you to look at. And it's really, in a lot of cases, you can create like a PowerPoint or a keynote with lots of text and then turn that into a video. So you don't have to necessarily be like us now speaking over it, but you're welcome to. You can just do a voiceover with, text that sort of help highlight what you're covering as well. Is there any questions about the assessment 1 and assessment 2 before we sort of move on? Or?
So the first one, I read correctly, it's just week 2 and 3. So we do 2 reflections with those 4 parts of the 4 R's or whatever they were. So there's
Correct.
2 of them. So and it was 1,500 between them, wasn't it?
That's right. Yeah. So you're basically you're going to mirror week 2, week 3. So you basically answer the same question. So really, what I'll see is you'll have the wind sail car. Sorry.
Yeah.
You'll have the wind sail car, and then you'll have it broken up into 4 parts: reporting, relating, reasoning, reconstructing.
Yeah.
Plus those 8 subheadings, and then you'd have the permafrost, and you have the same 8 headings as well.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's basically then your 1,500 words.
Yeah.
And whereas assessment 2 is a 5 to 7 minute video. Sorry, Christine. Yeah, Simon, that's not a lot of words. Yeah, unfortunately, 1,500 words. It'll go very quick.
That's a little bit better than some of the others that we had. We had 3 or 4 prompts with some of the other subjects for the 1,500, and it was like 300 words a prompt.
Oh yeah. And every course I've run or been involved in, every student says the same thing. There's always the words are too short. So really make use of photos, make use of those sort of things. If you are using bullet points, make sure they're like in sentence form, not just single words. But yeah, anything like that, that will help you. So it's really getting you to think and really keep yourself tight. So we don't count the words as far as any references and those sort of things. Don't count the words for, like, when you write reporting and then you say describe the STEM learning experience, including collated evidence of your learning. Don't count those words. So when you do your word count, if you just highlight, your paragraphs that you've written.
Yeah, I think because I set mine up with the headings first and I counted it, and I'm like, headings alone was already like over 100 words just of headings.
Yeah, yeah. So
okay. Headings and, then the subheadings again and the main headings. It's over 100 words.
Yeah, yeah. Look, if you just don't get, if you can use your word count, don't count your headings. So that'll save you, like you said, 100 words just there in word counts, because really that's just there to highlight this is what I'm talking about. We're really wanting just to focus in on what you've written. On the assignment too, it actually asks you on the page 3, it'll ask you to do like a cover sheet. So you can't see this. But basically that cover sheet, if you can put the word count on there as well. So it may mean you use your word count in Word and you highlight the paragraphs that you've written and then you add them up and say, it's 1,400 words. There is a 10% QUT, there is that 10% leeway. So 10% above or 10% below the 1,500 words. So 150 words more or less, then that is fine too.
Yeah.
I was going to ask about the inquiry with the permafrost.
Oh, yes, yeah. Next week?
Yeah, well,
good work.
I'm going to get started because I've got a contract coming up, so I'm going to run out of time.
Oh, sure.
It's grade 1. I'll be exhausted at the end.
Oh,
of
yeah.
After that. I feel like studying. But so is it all right to kind of adapt and develop lesson plans that you look up, or do you have to invent everything?
Look, I'm for not having to reinvent the wheel.
That's me. Good.
Yeah, but at the same time, you don't want to, plagiarise, copyright.
No, I would acknowledge what I've used and adapt it to suit.
Definitely.
Purpose.
Yeah. No, look. Yeah. Look, it's very much. If there's something that's good out there and you've adapted it, and you've, like I said, if you focus on a completely different year level and you put your own flair to it, no, that's fine. I think as teachers,
it's a relief teaching nearly every day.
Yeah.
No, plan and interpret and adapt to suit the day.
That's it. And that's the reality is, as teachers, we often, we walk into if we started a new school, you'll often be given here's, term 1's work, and you adapt that. So you're not necessarily, it's your work, but you're adapting it as you go along and you're modifying it as well. So if you've done something, from a previous school, you didn't necessarily create, but you're modifying it and updating it, yeah, that's fine. Cool. Is there any other questions or any other concerns? Do we really? So Christine, I'm just waiting for Christine. Type some words. Do we really? But I'll just wait for there. Look, the rest of this week is really just that reflection again, the transfer of knowledge, relative to this experience. How will your students collect, process, analyse and visualise data with the digital technologies they are available to them? So it's kind of getting you to think, and really, because we don't have a face-to-face with this one, it's kind of getting you to understand and realise digital technology can play a powerful influence, have a powerful influence in your classroom, whether that is how you visualise this data or whether it's how you record and keep a record of what students are doing as well. Have to have a video with the LE in Action Assessment 2. Now, Christine's asking about Assessment 2. Do you have to have a video of the action? No, you don't. You can, Sharon, one will be my son in action. Yeah, you can film somebody else in your family doing that. You don't necessarily have to film the science project. So if you were doing yours, let's say we're looking at the wind-powered sail car, not that you can use that for your assignment too, but you could, let's say you're not accessing a class, you're not in a classroom as such, you wouldn't need to film that to actually do well in it. If you have got a class and you wanted to show evidence that this is what we've done in the class, I've actually experienced it, I've actually gone through that process, you may find it a little bit easier to answer some of this action theory analysis because you've gone through the whole process, you've seen your students, what they struggle with and those sort of things, what you need to change in the future. If you have that access, that's great. If not, that's fine too. So it can be descriptive. Yeah, you can just describe it, Christine. Yeah. So feel free to describe, this is what, just say, unfortunately, I don't have access. Well, I don't have access to a class, but this is what I would say this would happen in the classroom space. Because some of you may not actually be teachers at this present time, so you've got to take that into consideration. Again, feel free to use anyone in your family member if you want to model it out, or even just, have the video of, here's my wind-powered sail car. Here's, step 1, step 2, this is what we did, or just photos. So there's